So in May of last year, there was a mass onslaught on the people of Gaza. There were also attacks on Masjid al-Aqsa and attempts to expel people from Palestinians from districts around Jerusalem and kick them out of their homes, essentially. So in that particular context, there was wide protests. I think there was one of the largest Palestine protests on the streets of London in record. And essentially, this boiled even in the schools. So kids were coming to the schools wearing Palestinian scarves, the keffiyeh. They were wearing, badges and so forth. And the school leadership didn't like it. They didn't appreciate this expression of solidarity, and it was clamped down and closed down. Some of these kids were faced with suspensions. Others had their material confiscated from them. So when we saw this and people came to us, the Cage, for support, we thought, we need to do something about this. Over 50 people approached us, and I think with MEND, over 100 people went to them to seek support and assistance. And we thought the government has overstepped the mark here, really. And we took them to court over the fact that they have allowed the targeting of Muslims in schools if they express any solidarity with Palestine. And the government was restricting the debate on Palestine such that only pro-Israeli or pro-Zionist narratives are able to be expressed. And any solidarity for the Palestinian people, that needs to be crushed.
Anas, I'm sure that the government could counter-argue, right? To say, well, look, we're trying to keep the schools and colleges apolitical. I mean, how do you respond to that?
Yeah, well, we addressed that as well. I mean, earlier this year, we did a survey, and we had hundreds of respondents, I think upwards of about 500 or so respondents, about the solidarity for Ukraine in schools. And the overwhelming majority, over 90%, I think, of respondents said that their schools, they demonstrated solidarity for Ukraine, either by raising the Ukrainian flag or having, assemblies or raising funds. In fact, some schools even raised funds for military gear in Ukraine.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Some schools raised funds.
And we've got and there's evidence, and there's
it's all documented. Yeah, it's all documented, and this is all above board, and it's seen as fine and all well. The issue here is not whether you should express solidarity with Ukraine or not, but it's the consistency of the application of the policy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that makes the whole conversation very uncomfortable, doesn't it? For the authorities, apologies. I mean, how are they planning on reconciling that? And explaining the incoherency.
I mean, obviously, the government's line was to insist that the solidarity with Palestine is tantamount to anti-Semitism. So therefore, it was framed very differently.
Which is a classic line that they've been using for a while.
Yeah, it's an old line, and it's rinse and repeat, really.
All right. So that's the background. That's the context, right? Now, what is Cage telling students, right, and parents?
I mean, because we've taken the government to court, because we've gone through this entire process, there's a lot of learning that's happened, and the government themselves during the course of this legal challenge, they produced new guidance, which they backtracked from some of their more stronger positions because they realized under scrutiny, those kind of positions can't really be justified legally. So we're going to be holding an event on the 24th of September in East London, essentially directed at parents and students, pupils, to explain to them how they can express solidarity of Palestine in their school and ensure that they have that right to do that. And hopefully that will be explained in that event. But fundamentally, it's about remaining, sticking to your principles and also having open and frank discussions with the leadership of the school and mentioning these kind of disparities and also, bringing to the fore that these underlying biases and explaining to them that perhaps your reaction is not a rational one. It's one that is based on fear and Islamophobia and misconceptions. And it's a learning process.
All right. Okay, fine. And unfortunately, we're coming to so very quickly then. In that case, 24th of September is the event, and if someone wants to find out, any parent, student, how do they attend this event?
You can register for free at event.cage.ngo. You just give your email address and name, and you receive the invite directly to your email address.
What was the URL again?
It's event.cage.ngo.
The
.ngo.
All right, Jazakallah khair, brother Anas. If you need to leave us, then you need to leave us, I guess.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the invite.
And